Am I hot? Okay. Hello, nerds. What's up? We're going to do this thing. Welcome to @Nerd. We're really excited for today's workshop. This is an Exploring NFTs workshop. I want to introduce our wonderful workshop hosts and facilitators. We're going to start with Mr. Thomas Crowley. Come on up, Thomas. We're lucky to have Thomas here. He is the Director of Product and Strategy for Set Power Free and Oven and Smart. It's a lot of titles and a lot of companies. And he is recently come from Oxford, and he likes to row and sail.
I do like to row though, too.
Okay, row and sail, and he's got beautiful blonde hair. So that's Thomas. And next up we have Nicki. Nicki Saunders. Nicki has been a blockchain engineer now for 8 years, if you can believe that. And Nicki's a bit of a band geek. You couldn't know that by looking at her, but she did play in the Utah Marching Band for a while, and she got a scholarship in saxophone to go to college. So that's a little known fact about Nicki. All right, and on that note,
Off to us.
enjoy.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's great to be here. Bear with us for audio. We have to speak a little bit louder because we only have one speaker today. So if you can't hear us, throw a sign. But really excited to be here, talk about NFTs, talk a little bit about what is an NFT, what are the use cases, and then what are some considerations as we nerds and broader creators want to leverage NFTs, particularly for driving utility. There's a lot of uncertainty in the NFT market. There's pretty high volatility in where it is in public sentiment, whether people are stoked about it or think it's a scam. But what we're here about really just wanting to make sure that we're building real technology that really adds clear value. So I'll hand it over to Nicki to take us through that part, and we'll go for it back and forth. But Nicki, over to you.
How do we flip through the slides?
Yeah. Next slide, please.
Oh, next slide.
Do I call next slide, I guess?
Yeah,
there it
yeah,
is.
that's easier. Thank you. I just hit the button. Which one? The big one? Okay, cool. All right. Oh, all the intro slides. All right, so we were going to have this real time, but of course, demos never really go off without a hitch real time. So we do have a little sign up here. If you will give us your public key or your public address, we later today, maybe tomorrow, we will get some really cool NFTs out to the first 122 people that are on this list. So, and we will also put this link out in Slack. So if you don't get it right now, it's not the end of the world.
Quick call. This has to be your Polygon address. Make sure it's your Polygon.
Yeah. Well,
if we didn't say that already.
yeah, it will be minted on Polygon, so any Ethereum-based address will work, but you'll need to look at it on the Polygon network. All right, we good? And then, yeah, we'll add, right after this, I'll post it in Slack, so. Okay. I see a few more phones. Oh. Okay, Thomas is going to put it over here for people who still want to see that. Okay. Okay, and oh, this is cool. And this is us. This is Thomas and me with our cool AI-generated images, which may or may not be part of the NFT collection that is coming out today. All right, what are NFTs? We talk about NFTs a lot. You hear the buzzword. You see the weird parties going on. You see the weird ape pictures, but what are they? Really, on a technical level, something that is, an NFT stands for a non-fungible token. Something that is non-fungible is something that is unique and non-interchangeable. For example, like a dollar bill is fungible. If Thomas and I both have dollar bills up here, we swap the dollar bills, we walk away from that transaction with the same amount of value that we came into it. If we both we're really fancy, we have Picasso paintings, we decide to swap them because we like the other one better, we probably didn't walk away from that transaction with the exact same value. They could have different. Yeah, mine's way better now because I tricked him. but mine could be worth more. They were painted on different dates. There's this different attributes. They're not the same painting. So that's what something means when it's non-fungible. So now we know what the non-fungible part means. So now what does the token part mean? Really, it's the whole tokenization of a non-fungible asset is really just linking a piece of digital content to the blockchain via smart contract. So in the actual technology side, you're not doing anything crazy like loading actual data onto the blockchain necessarily. You're linking the link, the URI of that digital content into the smart contract. It's actually pretty basic. It's really not as complicated as it could sound. But what's the point? So now you know like what they are and kind of how they work, but why do we care? So NFTs really allow us to have some sort of rarity and uniqueness for assets on the blockchain. Again, like fungibility, Bitcoin, you can trade it around. It doesn't really matter. NFTs, it's actually linked to a certain object that you cannot duplicate. And why is this important? Sure, you can go and take a screenshot of someone's NFT photo and make a joke like, oh, I own your NFT now. But you don't really own it, just the same way as I can like copy a picture and have it printed. That doesn't mean like I own the copy of a like house title I took a picture of. Not the same thing. It actually, when you hold the NFT, you can prove ownership of that digital asset, which is one of the really big important pieces of why NFTs have become so popular. And then, are they valuable? Again, there's been some really kind of crazy NFT projects that have taken off, and people have made a lot of money off of them, and those are the ones we hear about. But they can have value. Why? We're gonna get into some of the reasons why, but because they are scarce, they can have some sort of excitement and an actual like organic marketplace behind these things. We're gonna get into some of those examples. All right, and since we're all a bunch of nerds, I was told I could get a little nerdy with this. So with NFTs, there are two main standards. There's ERC 721, ERC 1155. What does that mean? If you're a blockchain engineer, you know, otherwise you're like, what is this? But if you're a developer, which a lot of you are, how many of you have implemented an interface just in code? Everyone, right? We all know what an interface is. That's all an ERC is. It's a standard interface that to be compliant with this interface, you just have to implement all of the functions that are required. That's really all it is. The first big one, ERC 721, this is the truly like one-of-a-kind NFT. We have a Bored Ape right here. It's one of a kind. There's only one of it. It's right now selling for like 29.69 ETH, you know, pretty penny. And these are the ones that are gonna be like profile pics, stuff like that. Then you get the ERC 1155s. These are more of used in like gaming, where it's almost like it's a multi-token, non-fungible token, where you can mint more than one of the same object. So this one, it kind of cuts it off, but like this wooden sword for this engine game, there's like 1.2 thousand of them. So they're this like, but within the NFT, like there's only 1.2 thousand wooden swords, and then they have other weapons as well. But that's really like the multi-token standard. All right, so now you want to buy an NFT, what do you do next? So there's really two types of main marketplaces, custodial and non-custodial, just kind of the same as any regular crypto marketplace. So two of the really big custodial marketplaces are Nifty Gateway, which is owned by Gemini, the big crypto exchange, and also Binance NFT Marketplace. And these are, you can buy NFTs with a credit card, and you don't have to set up your own crypto wallet, it will hold it for you. And then the more crypto native people will like the non-custodial marketplaces. OpenSea's the big one. It was really the first one to kind of take the industry by storm. So everyone kind of knows about OpenSea. Pretty much everything is posted on OpenSea these days. But then there's also things like Magic Eden, which started on the Solana chain, but it's kind of making its way over onto the Ethereum side. There's also super rare, rareable. So there's options, which they sometimes enforce like royalty fees a little different. They have different trading fees. So that's why it's kind of a race to the bottom on who can do it the cheapest and who has the most efficient smart contracts for trades. And that's kind of why there's competition there. All right, last call for this NFT, but we have it over there, so we can skip that. All right, Thomas.
Yeah, so thank you for Nicki for giving that overview. We're gonna do a little bit of back and forth talking about, okay, what do I do with an NFT? What are the actual use cases, real world use cases? There's some you'll recognize immediately. There's some you've heard more on the peripheries, but there's really a lot. And ChatGPT, you can definitely reach out and ask it for suggestions, but actually don't let it do all the work. It's not a good idea. Not yet. We're working there to get there. But really what we want to really communicate is here at Nerd, as we all become creators, whether it's with fungible or non-fungible tokens or systems or just us trying to leave our mark on the Web3 world, we really get to use our imagination and really push the envelope and think about what do you want to drive and what do you want to deliver. So the first case that we're going to talk about is we want to talk about social communities, community and social. And so a classic example here is Starbucks. Starbucks launching their program, building loyalty and chasing that, and building it out. Nicki, what are some of your favorite like community and social programs or social ones?
Yeah, I have a kind of a funny one. It's actually my brother-in-law has an NFT that got him a free ticket into that UFC fight that was this past weekend. So there's things like that where there's actual like events you get to go to because you're part of the special club. I think things like that are really cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun one. For people who are building in that space of building community in this, like the goal like that is to build communities, invite you to a UFC event, and we'll talk more about tickets as well. Several examples of like just concepts: time limited access and subscriptions, gym memberships, access to special programs, access to products and services, access to Discord, rewards, loyalty programs, as well as personalized tokens and avatars. So a lot of times you could use Gravatar right now is a common one to use for your identity. But there's more and more projects coming out where you can have a custom avatar. You could use an AI generated image, for example, and go for that. All right, let's see the next one we got. We got digital artwork and collectibles. This one's wild. Nicki, how much did this sell for again? It was like,
well, 69 million, of course, because
Yeah.
we're a bunch of crypto nerds.
yeah, of course, yeah. But this one's crazy. This one's a massive collage, and where it's just 1,000 different pieces of art. And so this is what we've heard of more, and that's definitely some utility. The utility that we're going to say here is that we're trying to preserve and propagate creators' artwork and really create a decentralized marketplace of art, provide better access to the art industry, everything like that. And so there's some really cool things going on. Next up, we got physical and virtual goods and fashion. So the utility here is to connect real-world assets with the digital world, really bridge those aspects. You could be in a game and you could buy some merch, and that could also get you that merch in the real world as well. A cool example of that is Crypto Kicks by Nike. Or another one is called Calissa. It's this, they make jumpers and shirts or whatever, and when you have that NFT token, even if you sold that NFT token to whoever and then your shirt gets lost or damaged, you can claim that right to be reissued that physical product back to you because you can prove that you own that asset. Another one here is property. So California right now is exploring, I can't say for certain, but they're exploring tokenizing car titles. And so you can track and transfer property and assets there. Real estate is a huge deal, both in the virtual world as well as the real world. Another one that we even dabble and that we're looking at here is carbon credits or different assets like that. Of how can we better track these systems and run them through the system? Another section is digital media entertainment. So go back to Nicki's example with the UFC fight. What's the goal here? This is to track, trace, and provide gated access to different things. That could be to music, to videos, to exclusive access to content. Maybe Patreon one day will be shifted to a full gated access. You have to have your title as you're somebody with an NFT and you're part of that group. Tickets and events, and last one here is digital identity and certification. We'll talk more about that. Nicki, what about gamification in virtual worlds? What's some of your favorite things here?
Well, yeah, one of my examples was in-game objects. We've all heard of like Fortnite, and there's skins and there's things that you can get, but it only exists inside of that Fortnite ecosystem. You have no way to bring it out, and if Fortnite ever goes down, all of everything you bought is gone. NFTs it's a technology that gives people a way to actually own these assets, own these in-game assets, trade them amongst other players in the game without fraud, because you can prove ownership, you can see the transaction happen. And it also what I like about it is it really, it's completely transparent and auditable on like the quantities of items. They can't say, oh, this is one of one, this is a special one, but really a few people have it. You can look on chain and actually verify who owns it, or which, not really the person, the pseudo-anonymous address owns it, and that there's only one in existence. Stuff like that for gaming, for me, seems really cool.
Appreciate that. Classic, another example is CryptoKitties, so like trading of different aspects there and things going. Yeah, but brilliant examples. Let's talk about identity. This is a topic that's near and dear to me, of something that I've put a lot of time into to try to understand of digital identity, tracking of identity. What can we do with that? A couple clear use cases come out is, of course, the DIDs. There's certifications and licenses. So maybe I completed a degree, I could get a verifiable or a publicly verifiable copy of my diploma and put that and tokenize that. Exclusive access to community groups based off of credentials and even security. There's a lot of really cool opportunities in the identity space. It's tough because it's tough to monetize. I mean, obviously with education and certificates, that's probably the easiest one to monetize, because you're paying money to take a course and then you get issued an NFT as a byproduct. But for identity, it's kind of hard to be like, hey, you're gonna have to pay me so that you can get your identity card. But there's a lot of really interesting opportunities and a lot of things that we'll see as we try to solve this problem of identifying somebody in an online world, which is increasingly difficult and increasingly hard to prove that I'm not a bot. True story, I'm actually a bot. This is an AI, the newest model. Yeah, I know. That's why I don't sleep, but it's cool. And so yeah. Another really cool one is education and cultural preservation. And this one's really cool, where you can get into like tagging monuments, and the objective here is to preserve history, preserve cultural important things. So if a statue gets changed or important historical events, you can merge, you can start to blend that world with AR and visualization there. Nicki, do you have any favorite projects in this space? All right. Yeah, this one's kind of new and kind of just getting its footing. But yeah, that's fair. So we got digital landscapes, monuments, etc., classroom and courses. I know, like, particularly during COVID, it's like sometimes my wife and I, we would just spin the globe, point our fingers at a place on the map, and then we would look at the food for that area, and we would cook a recipe from Egypt, for example, and then take a Google tour of the Egyptian pyramids. And that's increasingly becoming a more and more exciting, interesting, rather than just watching a screen, but putting on goggles and like actually traveling to that place in a world where sometimes we can't always jump on a plane and go. And so we just have a lot of fun. So let's talk about creating an NFT collection. So we're gonna go through 3 tips, and then we'll open up for questions. Really, the first tip here, and this is something that we aim for excellence here at Nerd, is be methodical in our approach. Really think through what is the process, and from start to end, the right to left plan, as a boss always used to call it. For us, we have it. We break our NFT creation lifecycle into 5 key phases. Number 1 is the planning and market research. Really make sure that this is something that makes sense, understand what we're doing, planning the artwork, all of that. It wouldn't be crypto without an air of compliance, of really making sure that there is approval, whether from the community, from the DAOs or the DGFs in our cases, or literally our compliance team, to make sure that we don't cross any lines, because let's be honest, this whole world of crypto is a difficult one to navigate. And it's like in Maine, there's often this issue on one of the main rivers where we store our boat. The sandbars constantly move, just the way it works. And that's kind of like what it is. When you're driving your boat up the river, you got to be really watching. You got somebody on the bow looking over and being like, hey, it's getting a little shallow. And other things. And so you have to be really careful. And there are sandbars, and right now in the crypto world, the sandbars are moving. And so we got to have all of us looking over the edges of the boat and watching it, because when you do run aground, it really sucks and it's not fun. But there's a saying that there's two types of captains in the world: one that has run aground and one that has never left the harbor. And we're here trying to embark on this journey, whether it's NFTs or these projects, and you got to navigate it. So approval is a big thing, and that's why I spent some time on it. Number 3 is the actual creation part. So now you've planned it, you've got it approved. This is where like the rubber hits the road if you're actually minting. That's where, unfortunately, technology breaks, like today, where we had all the NFTs planned, and there's a sign-up list, all the technology set, and then the demo gods get us. And something breaks and there's a slight delay. Don't worry, it'll still happen. And originally the NFTs gated your access to cookies. Depending on which NFT you got meant which zone you were in picking out a cookie. Don't worry, today everybody's gonna get a cookie. It just will all be in peasant class together and we all have to go at the same time. So, number 4 is wallet and UI. So really, if we're building utility tokens, if we're building utility NFTs, what is the UI that supports that utility, enables somebody to enjoy the utility that they're entitled to by being that NFT owner or by being a part of the community in general? And then finally is ship it. So once it's all gone, send it, get it out the harbor, and let's go see the high sails. There might be a storm, might crash it, but there are also some good sunrises and sunsets on the horizon there, you know? Pro tip number 2. So pro tip number 1, in case you got lost in that, be methodical. Be thoughtful, think about the right to left. Pro tip number 2 is pause for a head check. Sometimes in our hubris as creators, we start creating this beautiful world. You get all the colors just right, the system just right, and well, frankly, it doesn't make sense. And there's 3 categories that I'm gonna encourage everybody to think about. And this isn't just for product, it's not just for the business leaders. This is for all of us as we go through the development of like, what are these 3 areas? There's 3 questions we should be asking. Is it desirable? Is somebody gonna wanna buy it? Does somebody wanna participate in it, even if it's free? Number 2, is it feasible? Can we do it? I could say that I'm gonna go create an NFT that like, if you have this NFT, the utility is you get to like hang out in the Oval Office for a day. That might not work. I can't actually say that. And so it's not necessarily possible for me to facilitate that. And then finally, should we do it? That goes back to the compliance part again, but also just thinking about economics and social dynamics. There's a lot of pressure, and speaking of sandbars for regulation are one thing, but sandbars for like figuring out this world, the socioeconomic perspective of like, what groups are we gonna isolate by creating graded access, and is that good? Should we build a wall? Should we tear down a wall? Should we build bridges? What are those things that we should do, and think about the broader picture? That's where we started to get into like, I'm getting a little meta here, so I'm gonna come back down on earth a little bit, but the point is to ask these questions, even just a little bit, to get to that sweet spot in the middle. You wanna be in that middle of that target, and that's where we wanna build utility, and that's where we wanna go. The third and final is go break some eggs. Pro tip number 2 is just get out there and test it, because things are gonna break. You're gonna run aground, and that's okay. That is totally fine, and you just gotta keep paddling. One thing, to end on one last story before I go to questions. I rode from Oxford to London last year. It's a journey of about 110 miles. So it's me and 7 of what became my other best friends, because you're within 20 feet of each other for 3 days straight, right? We rode for a long time, and at the last 10 miles, 5 miles, last 5 miles of the trip, we hit what's called the tideway. And so in the tideway in London, that's where they drop the gates, and the river is influenced by the tides of the ocean. And just as we hit that, so we're already 105 miles into this. We got 5 more to go. We're almost there. We're exhausted. We hit that tideway, and the tide's coming in, which means that we were rowing upstream with the equivalence of rowing against 4 people worth of strength, and we had 8 people. So we were 4 against 0, I guess, because he netted out, right? But it still sucked, and there was like, I literally remember I was stroke seat, so I'm setting the cadence, so everybody's following me. And I remember just like rowing my heart out for 20 minutes straight, and I kept on checking to the left, and we hadn't moved more than 5 feet. And it just sucked. But what we learned to do is really just stamp that form. You hit that plate as hard as you can, and have as best efficient form as you can to flow through that process. And we made it. And when we made it, oh man, that food never tasted so good. And so that's really the thing I end on. Pro tip number 3, go break some eggs, have some fun with it, and let's see what we got. So with that, what questions do you guys got? We got a couple of minutes. I think 5 minutes exact at this point, or where are we at? 1. Okay, we got 1 minute. I got 1 question. Any question? Yeah. Oh man, stunned into silence. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, they can be video files, they can be, basically it just is, it gives you an entitlement to something, is essentially what it is. Yeah. Anything else on that?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Real quick, though, you
Yeah.
mentioned on the identity, having a tough time trying to find a way to monetize it.
Yeah, here, just so people can hear you.
Well, I was thinking like, the way you monetize is part of a service that, obviously you sell to, a financial institution or somebody like that really needs that identity registry. So that's how you can monetize it, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah, provide a clear service. That's awesome. You had a question over here? Yeah. I know I said 1 question, but
You mentioned like UFC fights.
Yeah.
Like admission. What's the benefit to using an NFT versus just like a QR code?
Because I could really easily copy that QR code, right? This is in the moment verification of ownership, and then it's easily transferable as well. So maybe if that's not what you want, you can kind of lock down the being able to transfer. But how nice is it is that one person's going to get in with that NFT, they can transfer it. If they can't make it, they can send it to a friend. Probably kind of risky because I don't know if you'll get it back, but that's really what it proves, is just ownership in the moment, which is something I really like about tickets in general, because makes scalping of fraudulent tickets less of a thing. You can actually prove ownership of the tickets.
Good question. I think we're at time.
Yeah.
I think one thing for those who, forgive the teaser on Ready for Refreshments, but these are the different categories. So if you get a gold frame in your NFT, congrats, you're in like 5. There was only 5 in the collection of 122. There's the epic. There's 15 of those, 30 rares, and then common. There's the rest, about 70. So do look, see what frame you got, and have some fun with this. Thank you, everybody. Cameo, back to you.
All right, give them a little more than that, because that was fantastic. Okay, so thank you so much for coming out. And last but not least, if you haven't joined our new nerd community, go to community.nerdunited.com and join. We're going to be doing a lot more events. A lot of them will take place inside of that platform where we'll stream directly out of that. So that's where you want to be. So thanks.